Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the
Welcome to the
FitFam
episode.
FitFam podcast. And man, we're excited today. We just came off one of the craziest weeks of the year. Like, it's always our biggest week, right?
It is. It is. And it's always amazing. And there's a lot of emotions afterwards that come with it. And you get a
Huge
lot
takeaways.
of huge takeaways. So
We're going to be sharing them with you today. So, as always, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hillary.
And this guy right here is Doug the Formulator.
And remember to hit the bell, like the episode. Would love for you to subscribe and also be notified whenever there's new episodes coming out. So thank you guys so much. We heard from a lot of you this weekend that watch our podcast, and we know it's all over the place at times, but we really try to keep that focus in on health, and it means a lot to us. So thank you so much. And so, man, let's just kind of dig in. Let's talk about the weekend, everything that is this last weekend.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal weekend. I think something to start with is that when we put on weekends like this, and I use the term we very loosely, when Doug and the OHS team puts on weekends like this, it takes so much work and effort, and just it's such a big weekend that getting through it, you hope to find flow as you're going, right? Because there's so much, and behind the scenes there's fires that are being put out, and you still want everything to look great. And so I just want to say, like, just to pull off a weekend like that is huge. It's just such a feat, and it's amazing that we have such an incredible team that works so hard for so long to be able to provide a great experience for everyone. So,
right. And we're coming in the week after, and right after this podcast, we have a meeting to start debriefing and planning for next year. So it is a year-long project, right? But what we're talking about is this last week we had the Optimal Health Systems Super Seminar. We had the theme Awaken. It was new for us. We were nervous and excited about it, about awakening your inner fire and trusting in God, or whatever that is for you. And that was phenomenal. We had doctors from all over the world come there. Then we brought the public Friday, Saturday. So it was Thursday through Sunday, but we let the public come Friday, Saturday. And then we rolled right from that.
Yeah, into USA's. So
the big natural bodybuilding competition.
Well,
one of our
typically
favorites.
Huge. Yeah, no, it was big, great weekend. So, let's go. Do you want to start with a few of your takeaways? And
yeah, we talked about this episode being the takeaways. My mind went so many different directions, and I started looking at the speakers and remembering what they said, and neither of us got to hear all of them, but we had seen slideshows beforehand and really got the vibe from everyone. And so instead of like going through each one, which was kind of in my mind, I just had this overwhelming feeling afterwards, and talking to the doctors. And we've been doing this a long time, right? And we've taught seminars for years and years, and decades and decades in some instances. So it's this, I love to talk to everyone after and see their feels, and also look at their progress over the previous year, and kind of, did they make progress in the area of health or their clinic or, personally. And I wrote down a quote, and it was this: it's like, good habits stockpile ease, bad habits only postpone pain. And I got that from a lot of people there. Was like, man, I started some of the habits that you all talked about in the systems, and life's better, and things are going greater, and I'm helping more people, or their personal health has got better, and it's just great. And others that had the same thing taught, but they didn't change their daily habits, and they were just postponing that pain. Things actually got worse, and then they had this realization of, where they were at by looking at others that, were in the same room a year previously. So, I'll go through a few things that kind of brought me to that conclusion in a minute. But the biggest thing for me was that no matter what, no matter how many seminars, how much motivation, systems, products, everything that's out there to help your health be better, help your life be better, None of that matters if you don't take action. And action meaning just replacing bad daily habits with good ones, just even one, and work on that and own it and win the day, and then taking it from there. Because that's really what it comes down to. Because all this is just to help you make it a little bit easier to break the bad habits and
Yeah.
know that the things that you're doing is going to improve your life. But what was some of yours?
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I think that kind of plays off of maybe one of mine, which is action,
Mm,
and to do, go and do, because it's easy to think, well, I don't have enough experience, or how am I qualified to convey a message to somebody? And I think I pulled this one away from a few different talks, but mainly from my daughter Nevaeh, who happens to be our daughter. Sorry, she shares
so,
too. Who's 22 and who has worked with, hundreds of women, who has her own team, who is also working with women. And she got up there and she spoke with such passion and
it's
authority
crazy.
on certain things, not only on, what she's witnessed with women's hormones, but also what she's been able to do and provide by taking some systems that OHS has provided and learning it and doing it, doing it, doing it, doing it,
Just taking action.
and taking action on it. And I I'm sitting there watching her with this with Tiffany, with another woman from our town, and we are both just kind of looking at each other, and I'm like, wait, am I just like flabbergasted because this is my child? And and she's just like, oh my gosh. And they were such powerful talks. And after that, I even got, many health professionals coming up to me afterwards and saying that they were enthralled, that they didn't want her to stop speaking. And I think the takeaway from that is that is that don't let what could be a limitation in somebody else's eyes stop you from pursuing your passion. Pursue it daily with everything you have, and then it just starts stacking up, and the wins start coming, right?
Yeah, well, what's crazy is we're just bringing in our top doctors here in a week to do a kind of a getaway, and we're actually reached out to Nevaeh to maybe come because what you're saying is the key is here is a 22-year-old trainer, and she has vast knowledge, right? She grew up in a home kind of health-wise, but still, you have all of these doctors, and some of them been in the game 20, 30, 40 years. And she is really, as far as her trajectory, outgrowing them as far as the amount of people she's helping and at that level. Not all of them, but a lot of them are sitting there going, what the heck? And it's
Right.
because she's looked at the systems and starts following them and taking action.
And I think something that I was also told by many people is, and she spoke last year and she did an amazing job, and I was told that last year what a great job she did. But I was told by these people, oh my gosh, the growth that they saw within 365 days from her, which was just growth by doing each
That's
day,
true.
the things that bring more growth, and so she's just in it and she's working the systems and following, her passion, and progress is happening, and it's just stacking. And it's not because she has all of the confidence in the world. I think that's the other takeaway, is that the confidence isn't just there. The confidence starts building after you're doing. So we have to do before the confidence ever starts stacking up. And so I think it was just really motivating for a lot of the health professionals. I know it was very motivating for me to witness, here are systems that I can follow. And if I will take action on them, I will grow, and my practice will grow, or my clientele will grow, or my mind will grow, and it'll just be that much better.
Yeah, that's huge. And that kind of like is the same thing we both came up with independently because this seminar, different from a lot of them, we had more new things to offer than any other seminar in history. We offer new DNA tests, which is super awesome. You want to
Mm,
go to Optimal Health Systems, order the DNA test. It's incredible. New deep dives into the blood work, right? We went into more detail on the plastic test. We had new helps to our Healthy Habits Tracker that everyone should download, Healthy Habits Tracker, and just being able to help you daily make good decisions on it. We had new research on peptides, retatrutide especially, phenomenal new peptide to help people get some wins. We had inspiration from Ben Hardy. We had inspiration from Pastor Craig Lewis. It was mind-blowing what he brought to the
Yeah.
table, and that
Yeah.
new products, our methylene blue, our new creatine, and all of that. And I sat there at the end and I watched the doctors and the public that were just taking notes, saying, okay, yeah, this is how I can apply this to my daily life, new habits, or here's a system that's going to make things easier. I'll be able to reach more people if I just take this system and apply it with my patients. And you could just see it, and people would come up afterwards, and you knew the ones that were applying in their mind, like, okay, and they'd have a question like, do I apply this here? When do I take this? And it was this momentum, and others would come up, and it was the same thing as year after year after year before of, okay, well, I'm not quite sure where it fits. I'm going to evaluate. I'm going to take a look at things. And there isn't an action mindset, to kind of go back to what you said. And I just know, and I hope it's not true 100%, but I just know the people that it felt like, okay, they didn't get the main gist of the point, and that is to take action. And all we're doing is supplying you with the good nutrition and exercise and supplements and systems and blood and DNA to make it easier for you to take action and see results faster. But without the action, nothing changes.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. And that was really cool.
Really cool. And then I think something that you had said earlier when we were discussing the podcast was winning the moment, because it's, you've heard win the day. And I think that was such a brilliant thing. Sometimes for some of us, the day feels, too big. It's too big. But if we can win the moment and then be like, okay, there, I just stacked one. There's a win. And then, what's next? And we move and we do the next thing and we have another moment win. And so sometimes it's just about stacking moments, stacking wins in moments instead of waiting for a full day to pass. And then, you stack enough wins throughout the day. At the end of the day, even though it wasn't perfect, it was a win, right? And so I thought that was really brilliant.
I like that too, because we can choose in the moment how we act and what we do and what we think. And if you do think about, like you said, the day or the week or the month or the year, it's overwhelming. But in that moment, can you flip a switch? Yes, win that moment. So that's really powerful. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the next one was, which is kind of cool because my talk was about connection. And I think this year really showed me some cool connections and how valuable feeling really connected with someone and some purpose is. And there were moments like one of our doctors that came after 20 years of not being, and a friend, doctor and a friend, not being at the seminars for the last 20 years, and he came and he had things show up in his life that could have made him not come, but he's like, no, I made a decision and I was going to come. And it was such a beautiful exchange of energies between Doug and him, and then myself and him. And it was just, I wouldn't have changed those moments for anything. And so that connection with him really meant a lot to me. And then, just connection with all of our amazing health professionals, just amazing, amazing people. And each one of them so vastly different. Our personalities, from one person to the next, from me to them, Doug to me to them, are all so different. And yet there's this common connective goal. There's this common connective desire to create health from the inside out with all of us, and to spread that knowledge and to help others. And that connection was just awesome. It was just awesome. Can I keep going?
Yep.
I'm getting long-winded.
I like it.
You're rubbing off on me. I'm sorry.
No, not.
I'm not. Okay, so the connection part, what I think is so amazing. So Doug is finishing off the day on Sunday, right, at the seminar. Naveah and I and Dylan are already into USA's, getting ready and getting pumped up, getting literally minutes from stage. And I want to come back to that because there's something else. But all of a sudden, Doug and like 10 health professionals, maybe more, just rush in to see. And that touched me so deeply that they would want to be a part of something that they know, that we are so passionate about. And it just touched me on such a deep, deep level when I was on stage to see them sitting in the crowd and to cheer us on and to take part in that when they didn't have to. There was other things going on, and it just that to see each of their faces, it just meant so much to me, and that connection is everything.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was crazy because when I was getting off stage to go over there, um, I had to kind of run right around the front, and they said, "Where are you going?" Like, "Oh, Hillary's getting on stage," and then just this group of doctors just gets up and follows us in. It was really cool because they really, really cared. And on your story today, talking about just being you and doing the best you can, and it'll trigger some people and inspire others. And it's not our choice to, and not our right to even say whether it should trigger or inspire them. It's
Or
our
who it could
or
possibly
who.
inspire.
Yeah, it's just up to us to do our thing and take action. And so it's really good. I think one last thing from the seminar, then I want to talk about the rest of the weekend for a second, is that on the last day, we have a panel and we bring up some of the top speakers and scientists. And we had some scientists that were there that have, one guy says, "I've literally not left my lab for the last 10 years. Like literally in his town, went home, went to the lab, went lab, and he came to speak on stage and he was so nervous. So I got up and spoke with him. But we have all these great people. And within that, I brought up some research that just happened. This 117-year-old lady, oldest person living, passed away, and she gave her body to science to kind of see, like, how can you live to be 117, right? And they all had thought that it was going to be over her cholesterol numbers or this and all these parameters that we know are important, and it wasn't any of those things. Even measuring what's called a telomere wasn't as important as what they found. They found, and this was the theme that came up over the weekend. It wasn't even by design. It was about mitochondria. Every speaker talked about mitochondria. They said her mitochondria were extremely healthy, and meaning she didn't do things that damaged the mitochondria. And one of the biggest detriments to mitochondria, we have all the nutrition factors. Processed foods is huge, obviously alcohol and all that, but the giant one was attitude. And this lady was just happy and attitude, like, "Sure, take my body and, see if we can figure things out, because I don't know why everyone's not living to be 117." And it was just this community, and she had friends and she was happy. And that ability just to be happy made it so that it overrode any other marker that genetically maybe was not that great for her, because they thought her genetics were going to be perfect, and they weren't. It was just that overriding choice to be happy and community. I think that was really cool to have. But we talked about that and the importance of the mitochondria, and we do anything we can to keep your mitochondria strong. And there's all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of stuff. Your healthy eating, your creatines, your workouts is probably on the top 3, and all this stuff. But it really comes down to attitude. I thought that was kind of cool.
Really cool.
So I'll keep talking. So as Hillary said, after the seminar was the USA's, and it's the first time Hillary's been competing. The first time on 2004 was the first of 2000.
Yeah, my first show was in 2004.
And then she took time off. But basically, since she's been competing, besides the show that was planned on that she was going to go and do without me, this is the first time that I wasn't there for that hour before and the pump up and everything. And it was really hectic for her. And there was a few things that were different, but she went on stage. She won Pro Figure Open. Naveah took second Pro Figure Open. Dylan took first in Pro Men's Physique, and overall got the big trophy. And it was this crazy cool thing. And the next day we drove to California. And then after that, we went to Disneyland, and me and Hillary were walking behind the family. And she said, I'll mess up the words, but look at this FitFam. Like, look how blessed we are that at least right now, everyone has great health, but they work on it, that they're focused on. Not that things won't happen, but it was this amazing, overwhelming feeling to me. And my takeaway was that, yeah, health and fitness doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee happiness or any of that. You still have to make the right decisions. But as you make the right decisions, health and fitness definitely amplifies your experiences, your ability to be present, the ability to do more and experience more and have more energy and experience life at a higher level, and even do more for your passion, whether it's business or a hobby. And it was this huge blessing for us. Like I think we both got real emotional about it because it was like, wow, what a blessing is to teach principles. And y'all have had teenagers and that they can do what they want, right? Like
Did you just call our kids teenagers?
no, but when they're teenagers, and some of them did, but if you teach the right principles growing up and they see that example, especially the example even more than what you teach, the high majority of the time, that's what they're going to follow. And we're sitting there watching that, and it was a really neat thing to see and to understand the importance of that.
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree. I think maybe a good takeaway from me is one of the things that I had discussed was, in every situation, in every partnership, someone is the accountable one and somebody is the enhancer. And, in different moments of our lives, you're the accountable, I'm the enhancer, and sometimes I'm the accountable and you're the enhancer. Did I say that
Yep.
correctly? And I think it helped me to realize and to solidify the fact that neither one of those titles or neither one of those roles is better than the other. Because while I am accountable for the results that are produced in my bodybuilding career, boy, I missed you being the enhancer backstage and for those few days before, because it makes the difference for me to show up the way that I need to show up. And so I just think that was a great, you know, lesson for me.
Yeah, and her talk was so powerful that we're actually going to play it as an episode here in a few weeks. So, because I'd like to even get into that more, but I think determining who's accountable and who's the enhancer and really owning that is such a powerful thing for communication. And when it doesn't happen, you do feel it, and hopefully it just amplifies more how important that is and what you can do. So, real excited about that. As far as final takeaway for me, as we close today, is get in the room.
Yeah.
None of this would have happened if we weren't in the rooms. The health professionals, the public that were there, they got in the room, and I had a group of health professionals that we challenged 6 months ago to double the amount of patients that they see in time for the super seminar. And that I was going to mention them if they raise their hand. So don't raise your hand unless you're going to do it. And we had like 20 raise their hand. So we wrote down their names. And on stage, I mentioned each of their names, but then I mentioned the 8, which is a good number, that actually doubled their practice in that amount of time. And it was a really cool thing because I told all of them what a great move it was, even if they didn't make the doubling, because they took action. They got in the room and they took action.
Yeah.
And that was the key. And they're all blessed for it, whether they hit that total mark of doubling or not. And I think that's kind of the takeaway. Get in the room. If you're wanting to achieve greater levels of health or with whatever it is your business and hobby is, get in the rooms with those who have what you want. That's it. Get in the rooms with those who have what you want and listen and be a sponge and be more interested than interesting and really take it in. And I think that was really the key final takeaway for me is get in the room.
I love that. Get in the room, take action.
Mm.
And I think the other thing that I would say is say the thing. Like there were so many people that came up to me and told me things about you never know what any of us are struggling with, and you never know, with this podcast sometimes I'm like, I just don't think I should be doing this anymore. This is so out of my wheelhouse.
Mm.
And yet, every week we try to put forth something that's valuable, or at the very least entertaining. But a few people had come up and said thank you, and I remember this story a long, long time ago. It's an interesting, hopefully it makes sense, but in church, this woman, she had this beautiful hair, and somebody in back had noticed just how beautiful her hair was, and she didn't say anything, and the next week, the woman had gone in and had it chopped off, and it was just a terrible haircut. Okay. And it'll grow back, all that, but the lady had come up to her and they started talking, and she said, had just one person come up to tell me they liked my hair, I never would have cut it. And it was such a good lesson for this woman, when you feel something, when you feel impressed to say something to someone, it's for a reason, and to, act on that inspiration. So,
Yeah. Especially if it's good.
oh, yeah, the good.
No, and it's so true. I think that people overlook the power of just giving compliments and letting people know that you noticed something that they did, even in trying. And so
Just
great,
showing
great
gratitude
gratitude.
towards others, I think is
I love it. I
big.
love it. So we're exhausted but excited for what's to come the rest of this year. Glad the Super Seminar and USA's were over, and we're really, really pumped about kind of going into this last quarter of the year with renewed vision on our goals and commitment. And I love it. Let's stack the wins in the moment, then stack the wins in the day, and then stack the wins in the week. And it's okay if it takes you a while before you start getting those weeks. Just work on each moment with your attitude, with what you know you can do. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a huge, huge thank you to every single person that spoke at the seminar. You were phenomenal. You made an impact. You made a difference. There were talks from all different angles this year. And just a huge, huge thank you to our health professionals that stepped on stage, and to others that took the time to step on stage and convey the message that they